welcome to Lynx River Talk. This is episode 2, the first episode where we review an actual episode of the show.
Yes, today we're starting with episode 1, season 1, A New Start, and otherwise known as Pilot. As it didn't originally have a name.
Yep, and there's a new character to introduce.
Al Bishop. He is the pilot.
Yeah.
And we will be seeing him in the season.
Okay, so we'll start out with the summary. Eric Olson is introduced in the first scene. His partner dies.
Has just died.
Yeah, sorry.
And then he asks for a transfer.
Yeah, he's pretty upset. He wants to be transferred from Vancouver to a northern placement.
He just said small.
True,
He
yeah,
just
a
wants
small
a small town.
Yeah, good point.
Because that's what his wife wants. But we find out she's already left with the kids a few months ago. And Eric's wife won't talk to him about moving. She won't talk to him on the phone at all.
Yeah. And then Eric arrives in Lynx River via bush plane.
Piloted by Al Bishop.
Yes.
Who flies him in and tells us the population of the town. 135 people, 33 dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, this is a very small
Pretty
town.
small settlement. Michelle picks him up. Michelle Kennedy, she's the going to be his partner at the detachment. She's out of uniform, but picks him up in the Suburban. Confiscates his alcohol because she realizes he has some because it's obviously a dry settlement.
Though Al doesn't mind.
Yeah, Al gets the booze, so he's happy.
And Gord Jackman is not there to brief Eric, who is the former corporal.
Yeah.
And then Eric inspects his living quarters once, and he sees there's a truck mirror in the freezer. In the garage, there's a dismantled truck, and then there's a CB in the medicine cabinet.
Yeah, but Gord was nice enough to leave him and Mickey in the nightstand, so that makes up for the rest of the clutter.
I was honestly surprised that they didn't clean it out.
Yeah, true.
And then we got Leon banging on the door at 6 a.m. Look, what she did to my ear, Gord.
Yeah, and then so Leon thinks that it's strange that Eric is in Gord's residence. He's calling for Gord, so then Eric answers the door. He's confused, takes a swing at Eric because he thinks he's in Gord's place. Eric locks him up, and then Leon starts actually calling him Gord at that point.
And Sarah comes in to give Leon pills for his chronic pancreatitis, which Eric points a gun at her, wondering what she's doing opening the safe in the detachment. And Sarah tells him Rosie hit Leon, and as well, Leon, in the morning, he's no longer confused about Eric being Gord, as he says, Gord always let me out in the morning, because Eric's leaving him in there for a bit.
And Eric says, I'm not Gord.
And TV broke Sarah's window.
Yeah, she mentions that and then tells Eric that he's kind of the town punk and that he's going to have to deal with him. Basically.
But Michelle is handling him. She says that while ringing her bell. Yeah. Getting his attention because Eric's kind of just trying to fly by, and not really giving her his full attention. Sarah makes sure she gets it.
So Eric goes to TV's residence. He's going to investigate, obviously, what's going on.
Michelle's already there.
And then Eric chases TV because he sees him outside. TV moons him, and then Eric ends up at the end of the chase falling into the river.
Michelle tells Eric that Gord tried to commit suicide. So it kind of stops Eric in his track from his little temper tantrum after falling in the river.
Yeah, and then Eric kind of wakes up, I think, from the whole situation, and he started the next day. He's not wearing full uniform anymore. He doesn't have the hat, doesn't have the big coat. He's just wearing the shirt and the jeans. And
yes, and Michelle comments about someone having to wear the flag after he said she could also ditch it. Then we've got Eric finding Gord's diary directly after that, and there's lots of weird little notes and stuff in there, and then there's the times, and we find out that's the sunrise and sunset.
Yeah, he had some kind of obsession with that for some reason. Eric ends up going out of the detachment, and Joey mouths off to him, one of the kids in town.
And it's interesting. Then we've got Harris introduces himself to Eric and kind of gives him a hard time about the TV incident, but it also seems like there's something else up. Like, Eric just got to town.
Yeah, Harris has it in for Eric right away, it seems like.
Then we got Eric chases TV again, and
catches him.
Yeah, and he gets locked up.
Yeah.
And he's got this plan to send him to Hay River.
Yeah, he wants to ship him out right away because he basically thinks that TV is just going to be causing trouble, and needs to be taught a lesson, I guess. So.
And then Eric meets Jerry and Rosie.
Yeah.
And we learned something interesting about Jerry. He is not just store owner, manager, restaurant owner, manager, motel owner, manager. He is also
the justice of the peace. So, yeah, he lets Eric know if he ever needs a warrant.
Search warrant, yeah.
Just ask him.
And then Lindy calls, she won't which is Eric's wife. She won't come at all, and she asks for a divorce and then hangs up.
Yeah, so Eric's pretty frustrated.
He throws the phone.
Yeah, he's got music cranked up, and he's worked up.
And then Lois, Peter, and Michelle come to convince Eric not to ship TV out. And Eric's okay, fine, but he's going under your custody to Peter, but Peter's just like, Lois will handle it.
Because Peter had to leave town, so it wasn't really a good time for that.
Yeah, but it's not like Lois has been keeping that great of an eye.
Kind of obvious there.
Yeah. But then of course he gets out immediately. 2 seconds later, not even. Eric's still talking to Michelle, and TV throws a brick through the window of the displaced attachment. Of course. And Eric, after all of his all this craziness has happened, and he's got this punk kid.
He loses it.
Yeah, he loses it, and he punches him out. And then
really good.
Yeah, well, he punches him really good, and then he goes and punches him again, and he's gonna go a couple more times, but
Michelle.
Michelle and one other guy breaks it up because Peter had already gone another direction.
So then Eric kind of goes into some kind of depression after that. I think he realizes he's done something pretty bad, and he won't get out of bed for Michelle, so she wants to ship him out. Sarah is trying to convince her otherwise.
Which she does.
Yeah, Michelle listens for the time being.
And Sarah opens up to Eric about her mother, so we get to see a side of Sarah, her backstory. You don't get to see a lot of the characters' backstory, especially this early on. But with Sarah, you get to see that she had a mom and a dad. Her father left with some other woman, and that caused her mother to go in severe depression and commit suicide. Try to.
Yeah.
Almost. And
she had suicidal, I think.
Thoughts and the hospital.
They kept her there for a year. They wouldn't let her out, and she was embarrassed in front of all her friends in the neighborhood when they were taking her mother out. I guess it was a really bad scene for her. She breaks down in tears.
Yeah, and it's it's a very emotional part for her. Right off the bat, it was definitely
Yeah,
very
it's pretty
impactful
powerful.
scene.
Mhm.
Very good job by Tracy Cook. It was excellent.
Yeah. And then the council has a meeting
Mhm.
about Eric. They decide that they're not going to actually vote on it at the council then. It needs to be a town meeting.
Yeah, well, before that, Peter came looking for Eric and wanted to beat him up
Sorry, I left
and
that
everything. And of course, Sam says Willie took his axe.
Yeah, that's an integral part of this show. So we got to mention that.
And then the council has their meeting about Eric, and of course, Peter's being very hot-headed. He wants Eric to go away, but everybody else isn't seeing it the way Peter is. They're Roland, Shirley, they are like, hey, hold on.
Yeah.
We don't know this guy. We don't know his story.
Yeah,
Why don't we ask him? And also, TV is a punk. He almost needed it, is what they're pretty much saying.
Maybe
Or
some
that
people
he was
in town are thinking that,
or he was saying he was looking for it. That was it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, they at least wanted to hear Eric's side of the story.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Whereas Peter's just like shit.
Yeah, Eric flew off the handle. And I gotta say, I don't think Eric wants to fight, I don't think Peter wants to fight Eric. I don't think that
even
would
though
work out too good for
he
him.
seems like he's asking for it. But yeah, Eric.
So Eric breaks down for Sarah, basically, kind of like the reverse of what happens in the previous scene, where she breaks down for him, and he breaks down and says he's gonna leave, and she tries to convince him to stay, and he's kind of left open at that point. You don't hear what his opinion is afterwards.
And I forgot to mention at the end of the council meeting, Harris offers to call Yellowknife.
Yeah.
And even though Peter wants him gone, he doesn't want to do it that way. He wants it to be the town's decision, of course. So we've got Elsie speaks out for Eric at the meeting after. TV puts in his own word and just makes himself look like a butt.
Yeah, she obviously knows that TV needs to be taught a lesson, and is sick of him mouthing off. So she basically tells him sit down, and she gives her 2 cents and sticks up for Eric. And Harris again, after
speaks out against Eric, even after Elsie is saying what she said, how they don't know him, and he came from this place where he's busted. He was doing undercover work in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yes, and he was doing drug busts. For a very long time, we find out he was undercover for 8 months. 8 months was when his wife wanted him to leave. So he was undercover for longer than that.
Yeah, quite possibly.
He's undercover as this drug personnel. And then he goes to this town, and so she kind of brings that up and everything, and still Harris is fighting for him to go, right up until Eric comes in.
Eric kind of comes in and interrupts that. And then he apologizes. He says that, he basically says that he's leaving because he says that, he's sorry and that he hopes he's going to try to make sure that the next person does a better job for him.
Some of the council members and elders from the town come to Eric and tell him he can stay. I kind of asked Michelle if that's alright.
Yeah, seeing is that he's worried that he doesn't want her to be put out by him staying.
Well,
there,
also I think that he doesn't want there to be any harshness between them. There was already kind of that rough vibe you get between her and him. She's kind of rude.
Yeah, because
to him.
Of her last partner.
Yeah, she
losing it.
Yeah, she just doesn't think that that most people can cut it out there, the average person. So she's more or less she's worried about getting close to somebody, I think.
Yeah,
so
but she's willing to give him a chance.
Yeah.
So.
Michelle catches Harris calling Yellowknife,
Yeah,
which...
so it turns out he does that anyways, even though Peter tells him not to.
Yes, of course. So of course he can't no longer call, and he asks Michelle to keep it a secret from Peter. And what does Michelle say?
You be careful.
Yeah. And then Eric goes to Sarah and asks if he can come in, but she's like, it's late. And he thought, kind of because of their talk, that kind of made them close or whatever. And she's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, she's not ready to get that close yet. We don't really know. You know, maybe she thinks that he's got.
It is also late at night. It's kind of.
But
kind of time,
but he doesn't get it.
Yeah. So yes, and then this past week we got asked you a question. Well, a kind of double-parter. What do you think of how the community handled the situation with Eric? Do you think they made the right decision, or do you think he should have been asked to leave? Now we've got some great comments. We've narrowed it down to a few. One from Karen. I think the community did the right thing, giving Eric another chance. They were fair regarding his situation, and I am glad they made this decision.
Yeah, and then Rhonda, she said, I think they made the perfect choice. Elsie knew they needed him in her own special wisdom.
And Dennis, I think it was very kind of them to give Eric a second chance. I also loved it when Elsie addressed the meeting and said Eric worked in Vancouver, arresting bad people, and her grandson looked like and acted like one of those bad drug people. Not saying what he did was right, and I also liked after when the woman told Peter, don't be a sore loser.
Yeah, that was kind
Yes, Shirley. That was great at the bingo table afterwards. Everybody's kind of having like a good time, you know. And Peter's at the bingo table, like handing out the cards at the front or whatever. And of course he's pouting, so Shirley's like, don't be a sore loser.
So, we've got...
So, what did you think of how the community handled the situation with Eric?
Yeah, this is a question you could answer.
I meant you.
Oh, sorry, what did I think?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Well, basically, I think they did a good job because, I mean, you can't jump to conclusions. I mean, I know, you know, it was, like, Eric really did go over the line. I understand TV pushed him, but then on the other hand, it's like, come on, he's a kid.
Yeah, well, I saw, like, instant remorse on his face, almost, and it shook him up, and he apologized, and he's ready to change and move on. And as long as something like that doesn't happen again, I don't see why he can't stay.
Yeah, well, I think you can tell he's a good guy, right off the bat. It's just, you know, he's got to get used to the situation he's in. He's not in Vancouver anymore.
And not just that, but he's also all this frustrations with his wife. I mean, his wife left, but it doesn't seem like he was really dealing or paying attention to that factor.
Yeah, well, being undercover, he was kind of able to push it aside, probably.
Yes, and other stuff in his life coming up with coming to this town. And
yeah, well, he was under the impression when he left that she'd come with him, and it just didn't happen, right?
Well, he just thought that. He just thought she was going to wait for him forever, but she had said that she wanted that 8 months ago, not forever ago. So.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
I mean, not now. So yeah.
I guess that's our opinion on that one.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think of Harris? Why is he so obsessed with getting Eric? I really want to know your opinions.
Yeah.
This question has been driving me crazy. What about you, honey? Do you have any clue why Harris has it out for him?
Well, at first I thought to myself, like, maybe he's kind of jealous because it's another white guy in town. I don't know, but I think maybe like maybe there isn't a great reason. I don't want to speak for the writers, but maybe they just kind of thought, you know, this is something good to like integrate into the episode to make it like more drama, so that somebody's kind of against him, you know, other than just, you know, Peter getting mad, but he's actually got somebody who's kind of almost got like an agenda against him.
I don't know.
It's hard for me to explain because I don't really.
I
don't
think
see any
I
evidence.
actually have an idea. Because of this whole self-government thing, for him to have a job and for him to continue to have a job where he can be supported, they can actually get full self-government with their own policing without the RCMP or anything, that solidifies Harris's job more. So if he can do that, plus get Michelle to finally become their own
head.
Yeah, or their own cop for the band instead.
She'd be band constable.
Thank you. Then, I think that could be a factor. I don't know, but I really want to know yours. It's really weird how crazy he is. So then we've also got one other good one. What do you think of Gord? We learned quite a bit about him in this episode.
Maybe tell us what you think of his personality. What would he be like? What drove him to attempt suicide, do you think?
Yes, we've got this man who's tracking sunrises, sunsets. He's got booze in his nightstand. Now this is a very big thing. We've got an RCMP corporal having booze in his room. Like, he was obviously a drunk or whatever. He has it on him, though. Which,
either that or he's under some stress,
yes.
Probably.
Either way, though, he has it.
Right next to his bed like that.
But he has it legal, though.
Yeah, it's illegal.
So, I think it's very interesting, either way, his character. So, we'd love to hear your thoughts on him some more.
Yeah, so those are our questions that we're hoping you respond to in the comments and on Facebook.
Facebook.com/LinkServerTalk.
Yeah, and
email linkservertalk@gmail.com. We'd also love to see your cool memorabilia or stuff from the show. If you'd love to show us pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah, any questions, comments?
Or, you have any comments, questions you want to talk to us about North of 60 with?
Complaints?
Yeah. Feel free. Comment, Facebook, email. And, of course...
Of course, we'll see you next week, as always.
Thank you for joining us on Link Server Talk. We'll see you next week. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Thanks a lot.